It should be easier. It should have worked. I should have gotten a different result. They are wrong. The system is broken. It's unfair. We all have those low value thoughts. That's how our brain, everyone's brains, are wired to do that. Rejection is data. So you don't fail, you either win or you learn. Oh, welcome back to the podcast. It is the new year, and a lot of you are setting goals, setting career goals, and a lot of you are looking for a new role in this new year. And a lot of people I have noticed over the last couple of years feel a lot of resistance to even starting job search because of everything you're hearing on the market. Or maybe you are someone who has started. Maybe you started last year, it hasn't worked, so you now don't really feel very excited and motivated in the beginning of the year. And when you are looking at what's going on in the market, when you're hearing from your peers, from your friends, if when job searching you ever thought job search shouldn't be this hard, it should be easier, it should be working by now with everything that you have been doing, this is a must listen for you. What I hear a lot when it comes to job search is that I did everything. I tried everything. I did everything right. And my resume looks really good. I have really solid experience. I have been networking. I prepared for these interviews so much. I did my research, I did my practice. I feel like I did really well in the interview. It was a lot of time and effort, and I made it to the final round maybe. They should have picked me because I know I can do this job. I worked really hard preparing for this interview. I gave it my all. I worked really hard. This should be working. And again, maybe it's the thought that it shouldn't be this hard to land a job. Now, on the surface, all of this sounds reasonable, that you have worked hard in your career for years to have built up the career to where it is now. You have worked really hard and put a lot of effort into getting this interview, then preparing for this interview. So it all sounds very reasonable. Those thoughts sound reasonable. But the undermath of this type of thinking is actually quite dangerous, because if you already gave it all, then nothing else can change. There is nothing you can do differently. And this thinking is what creates so much frustration with your experience job searching and with job search altogether. That's why I see a lot of job seekers really collapse when they face rejection. When they are hearing no, they collapse and they're out of commission for weeks and months at a time because it just hits them that hard. And that's why a lot of people have so much resentment towards job search altogether, because it feels that there is nothing I can change. There is nothing I can do differently. And it's this word that I keep hearing over and over again, should. It's this idea that it should be easier. It should have worked. I should have gotten the result based on the effort that I put in and the time that I put in. I should have gotten a different result from the result that I got, right? I should have gotten the offer versus the rejection. Now, a thought that I want to offer you here is that if that were true, that you should have gotten the result, well, you would have gotten the job. If you estimated the effort something takes, the skill, and specifically I'm actually referring to job search skill here, if you have estimated that correctly, you would have probably gotten the results that you wanted. So I am going to say something that might not be very comfortable to hear, but I need for you to hear this. And that is this idea that I put in this much time into my applications, into my prep, into my interviews, and therefore I should get the job, right? Because everyone they're interviewing, everyone has the skills to do the job. But these skills that I have and the effort that I put in, therefore I should be getting the job, and this is the level of effort it requires. That's, my friend, is entitlement. And any sort of should type of thought is what I call a low value thought. Because when you're thinking should, this should be easier, I should have gotten the job, the only explanation to not getting the result is they're wrong. The system is broken. It's unfair. I'm expecting the results. So when you're expecting the results, when you're blaming the external, when you have this entitlement, it's just simply not going to get you anywhere because you're going to be marinating in this, it should have worked. The system is broken. It kind of leaves you powerless. And I don't know about you, but that's not how I want to live my life. I want to be in control. Now, a lot of people tell me, well, I did everything. I did everything possible. I tried everything. There is nothing I could have done more or better. I've already tried it all. And to this, I want for you to reflect on this idea that you've tried it all. So first, you would have already gotten the results if you truly tried it all. But I want for you to think about it this way. Did you really give it your all? Did you really, truly try everything? Or are you doing the same thing or pretty much the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? And I want to be very clear here. I'm not saying that you're not working hard enough, that you're not trying hard enough in your job search. What I am saying is that most people confuse emotional exhaustion from thinking this way, from going through this experience. People are confusing expectations that you have of how much time and effort something should take. You're confusing that with maximum skill execution. And those are not the same thing. Because think about it this way. Did you actually test everything? Did you test different approaches? Different approaches to how you approach getting interviews, to networking, to how much you're networking, to what you actually do in your networking meetings, to how many meetings you have. Different approaches to how you follow up in your networking, for example. Different approaches to your interviews. Or are you using the same framework or frameworks over and over and over again? Are you using the same stories in interviews over and over again? Are you applying online over and over again? And then when you get the interview, you use the same stories over and over again. Are you refining your messaging? Are you studying what worked and what didn't work? Are you upgrading your job search skills? So your positioning, your networking, your communication, your interview skills? Or are you repeating the same thing, but harder, more applications, more time repeating the same stories that didn't land you the interview in the first place? Did you get help? Did you get support? Did you get coached? What truly changed from the last interview that didn't lead to an offer? So when most people say, I truly did everything, they think they did, but they haven't. I actually offer you that when you think that I gave it my all, I tried everything, you're actually just scratching the surface. Because think about yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Think about yourself 10 years from now. If you think that, oh, how I'm doing in job search right now, how I'm approaching networking, how I'm performing in interviews is everything, I cannot improve. So is this going to look the same 10 years from now? Is the way you show up, your communication, going to look the same 10 years from now? I hope not. I want to share my own example. I have talked about this on the podcast before. After business school, I had this dream of working in management consulting. And I really, truly believed that I gave it my all, that I did everything possible to get into management consulting. So back then, I did a program that helped me prepare for the interview process in management consulting. So I have spent a summer after business school doing hundreds of hours of interview practice, both for behavioral interviews and for case study interviews. I did practice solo. I did practice with peers. I worked with coaches. There was a specific program that I did for it. And I worked really hard and I got much better over the course of that summer. I got 100 times better at interviewing than my starting point in the beginning of the summer. So I felt like this is it. I am so prepared. And you probably already know my story that I went through all the possible management consulting interviews, McKinsey, Deloitte, you name it. And I went to the final round and I never got an offer in management consulting. And I felt crushed by that experience. I remember looking around at my peers who did get offers and thinking, well, she or he is not smarter than me. We went to school together. I know that they're not smarter than me. I actually thought that I worked harder. I knew I worked harder in my prep than they did. I didn't think that there was anything about them that was special compared to me. And I remember feeling this frustration, this entitlement that, well, it should have worked. What else could I have done? And that really stuck with me for a number of years. I felt this disappointment and frustration and entitlement for a number of years. But reflecting on it now, I wasn't there. It wasn't my prep specifically. It wasn't how I did the case study. I actually remember because I had insider advocates, which is what I teach my clients. I had insider advocates and insider help, and I was getting insider knowledge from how I was actually doing in the interview at Deloitte Consulting. And they told me, hey, everyone was blown away by your case. You're our number one choice right now so far. Because I spent so much time on behavioral interviews, prep, probably more than everyone else they were interviewing. Again, they told me, hey, you are so far, after case interviews, after behavioral interviews, you are our number one choice. But where I failed was the partner interview. Why? Because even though I knew that I could do the job, I believed I was smart enough to do it. Deep down, if I reflect on it, I had that imposter syndrome. I felt like, well, why would they really hire me? I have an accent compared to someone else who is local. I sound different. I look different. I have a different last name. I had this feeling deep down. And I will say, that's how I was showing up. So when it came to very senior interviews, to partner interviews, I crumbled because they would ask me an uncomfortable question, but what they were looking for is my reaction, how I would handle that. But I interpreted that question as, oh, they're doubting me. It's because they doubt that they can put me in front of the client. It's because of how I sound. What was going on in my head. But the reality was, it was my confidence. It was not there yet. I was actually not ready for those interviews with very senior partners. And therefore, I was not actually ready to be put in front of a client who would also ask me uncomfortable questions, and I would have crumbled. So I felt like I did it all. I gave it all. There was nothing else I could have done. But the reality is, I just didn't have enough experience, just real life experience. I haven't gotten enough coaching yet to be able to handle uncomfortable questions or uncomfortable conversations with clients or partners. So I wasn't ready yet. I just didn't know it yet. So I believe that was true. That was correct. I believe that it was right that I didn't get those offers. Even though in the moment, I was devastated. I was crushed. I thought I did everything and I thought I deserved it. So I imagine there are experiences in your life, if you reflect back and you think to the point where, I felt like I deserved it. Whether it's a promotion, whether it's a job, whether it's an award, you felt like I deserved it. I should have gotten it. But you reflect back now years later and you probably realize, actually, now that I have built those other skills, I can see that I didn't have them back then. And I offer you that these thoughts, the should type of thoughts, the blaming the external, the entitlement, those kind of thoughts, the low value thoughts, they're normal. We all have them. I have them. I still have them. That's how our brain, your brain, is wired. Everyone's brains are wired to do that. We all have those low value thoughts. But I just check myself more often, and you need to as well. Here's another way to think about this idea that job search shouldn't be this hard. Let's say you're going for a 100K plus job, 150K plus job. A lot of our clients go for 200K plus roles. So you want to be paid on an annual recurring basis, 200K a year. Just think about it. In business, for a business of any size, 200K on a recurring annual basis, that's a big sale. So you might know that I have experience in sales, in recruitment sales, in CPG sales, and 200K client on a recurring annual basis, that's a huge sale. To get a business to agree to work with you and pay you 200K annually to sign that type of contract with a client, that's huge. That doesn't happen every day. It definitely doesn't happen by you sending them a PDF. Then you have 3-4 chats with them for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and boom, you sign this client who is going to pay you 200K on an annual basis. It's a big sale. It doesn't work like that. It's a big deal. And realistically, in sales, for example, a contract of that size, it takes oftentimes years to get because you need a lot of people on board. And it needs to be in a specific cycle, part of the cycle, part of their purchasing cycle, etc. Now, it doesn't mean that your job search has to take a year, but I just want for you to realize that you getting this contract, this employment contract from an employer for a 200K job is a freaking big deal. Now, I don't blame you. A lot of us don't realize how big of a deal this is because of what you have been taught about job search. It's a lie that all it takes or that it should take is submitting your resume, them calling you back, a couple of interviews, so a couple of hours of you spending with them, having a conversation, and then they say, oh, you got this contract. The idea that you can prepare the night before for this huge sale and spend a couple of hours looking at your stories. Heck, even if you have been preparing for days or weeks, even if you spend dozens of hours preparing, and then again, you have those 3 to 5 chats, and you land this deal without any training in how to land this deal. So without any job search training, positioning training, interview training, communication training, without specific training on how to do that, that idea is insane. So this idea that, oh, it shouldn't be this hard, well, says who? Where is this idea came from? Again, it all started with tech companies and how the job search application process has been really simplified and has been made really fast over the last couple of decades. So it's not your fault. That's just what you have been taught and shown. But if you zoom out, that is a big deal and you have to treat it like that. All right. If this approach, this thinking, this line of thinking that it should be easier, it shouldn't be this hard, it should have worked, they are all that they're wrong, that the system is broken, that employers are unreasonable. If those are examples of low value thoughts. How do we reframe this? How do we reframe this feeling that I tried really hard? I have been trying really hard. I have been working really hard on this. This whole experience sucks. This market sucks. It should be easier. Here's how you're going to reframe this. I did the best that I could with the skill level I currently have. Now I get to get better. And when I say skill level, I specifically refer to the job search skills. So I want to say this again. I did the best that I could with the skill level that I currently have. Now I get to get better. So we're shifting from, well, this is a failure. I failed. And oftentimes I see you guys feel you blame yourself for this failure. You feel almost like something is wrong with you, that you failed at this, or you can't, or you haven't been successful yet in landing this job. Instead, we are looking at your experience job searching. So your experience trying to get interviews, your experience networking, your experience going for interviews, all of that, when it's not a win, it's not a failure, it's feedback. And rejection is data. So you don't fail, you either win, so you get the offer, you get the referral, you get the interview. You either win or you learn. And you learn, and what you learn is this is where I'm at. This job search skill level that I have is getting me this type of result. That is the data that you have. So instead of interpreting that as that stagnant, low value thought, it should be easier, it's this is the result that I get so far. And this type of thinking, this high value thinking, assumes that you can get better, that you didn't give it your all. You haven't. There's room. There is always room. Again, you're only scratching the surface because your communication can get better. Your positioning can be sharper. Your confidence can always grow. Your delivery can get better. Your capacity can expand. So your capacity for resilience, your capacity for handling adversity, for handling rejection, your emotional capacity to not spiral from rejection, but rather learn from rejection, that capacity, that type of emotional capacity can expand. So you're not just waiting for them to choose you, but rather every attempt that you have is not just proof that this is the ceiling. It cannot get better. But rather you look at it as I'm training for my next level. Now, another nuance that I want to talk about here is this idea that senior professionals tell me, well, why do I have to train to get better, to go to this next level? Why should I work on my positioning, on my capacity, on my emotional capacity, on my communication, on my confidence? I shouldn't have to do this. I shouldn't jump through hoops, is what I've heard before. Why should I, again, shoulds, right? Why should I have to learn these interview frameworks? Why should I learn networking? Why should I even bother learning positioning? Why should I hire a coach to teach me this? Because, hey, I have the seniority. I have proven that I'm really good at this, at what I do. I have the experience. Maybe you have big names. So I shouldn't have to do any of this. So to me, when I hear that I've already worked hard in my career, to me, when I hear I already worked hard in my career, I shouldn't have to do this. To me, people who say that, often what they're really saying is that I don't want to feel the discomfort of trying again differently. Because trying again differently requires you to do things differently, to change what you have been doing for years, to change your habits. So you go from scrolling on LinkedIn and clicking apply to now you have to talk to real humans. You need to build a network. You need to learn how to communicate, how to network strategically, how to turn those meetings into advocates and referrals. And insiders helping you. It means you have to get uncomfortable. You have to admit that, oh, my communication needs to get better, my positioning, my delivery, all of that can be improved, should be improved. So I offer you that the low value way of thinking is I shouldn't have to. And the high value way of thinking is I'm not there yet. And I get to grow. I get to get better. All right. Another thought that I see comes up often for people is that, well, this should be over by now. That I have been working really hard on this. I have gone through maybe multiple interviews with multiple companies. It should be over by now. And there's a difference between this should be over by now, again, low value, to high value thought, which is I get to go again. I get to do another rep. Because when you start real growth, and that's the hardest thing, real growth is looking at what you have been doing every single networking meeting that you book, networking conversation that you have, interviews that you have as a rep, as you getting better, as you getting closer, as you learning the skills that you actually have never learned before. So it's reflecting on, okay, well, what did this interview show me about where I need to level up? What didn't land in that interview? Where did I lose them? What questions caught me off guard? How can I make my value obvious next time? Did they see me as that 200K professional, as that 200K director, leader? Did I show up as that person? So that's what another rep and actually learning from it and getting better, that's what that looks like. Because let's say every interview is a way for you to build your confidence, because the more reps that you take, the more confident that you get. Because confidence comes from doing. Confidence actually comes from reps. Every interview helps you to clarify your positioning because you get to see their reaction to your stories. You get to see what landed and what didn't. Every interview helps you get better at handling objections because they will always have objections. You don't have experience with this type of customer or this type of product or in this type of industry, or you only worked with this type of CRM before or technology before, or your team used to be 3 people. Now you'll have to manage 10 people. You don't have that experience. They will always have objections. And handling them is a skill, which, by the way, we teach our clients. The next level you that you need to become when something is not working, you need to become that next level version of you. This next level professional at 200K level, they don't collapse when they lose. Don't feel the entitlement that they should have gotten the results. They say, great, I just got data. And it's really hard. It's really hard to do this. But I want for you to think about the fact that that's how you need to be showing up at work as well. At that level of seniority, you can't be someone who is collapsing when something doesn't work. You can't be someone who continues to do the same thing over and over again when it's not working. You need to be someone who sees that, hey, this is not working. We need to make changes and we need to try again and get data from it and try again. So even the interviews that don't convert are data. Actually, they're more powerful than the ones that do convert. And I offer you that the candidates who get offers in a couple of months, get multi-6-figure offers quickly, are not candidates who don't get rejected. But it's how they think through the process, how they approach the process. They compound improvements across attempts. So I challenge you to really start noticing whether the way you're thinking about your career, about your job search, about your interviews, about your rejections is low value or high value. Are you looking at them as data, as a learning experience? Are you looking at where you can get better? Are you obsessing over the idea of how and where can I get better? What did I learn from this? Or you're acting entitled. You keep thinking, hey, this should be easier. This should have worked. I should have gotten the results with the level of effort that I put in. Start really questioning, is your thinking low value or high value? And just to give you an idea, this compound improvement is what we focus on with my clients day in and day out. It looks like, for example, they practice a lot. They practice a lot more than they ever thought they needed to. They practice. We have our own AI tool, SpeakGPT. They practice for networking and for interviews with SpeakGPT. They practice with peers. We have a whole community of senior professionals, and people meet with each other. And multiple times a week, they have mock sessions for networking and for interviews. They practice with a coach. They get coaching twice a week. They get feedback on exactly what they're working on and what has happened. And this person said this, and I said this. They get feedback on every little nuance. So they get better next time. And or when they have to respond to something or act on something, they don't base their decision on what they have done before and the knowledge that they have, but they base it on our coaching experience and me coaching over 1,000 people over the course of over 5 years and thousands of different scenarios that I have seen and different approaches that we have tested over that time, different frameworks and talk tracks that we have tried. So they get to make the decision with all of that we can offer them. Our clients do reflection loops. So they set goals every single Monday. And then at the end of the week, we push them to reflect on their week weekly. So they get to reflect on how they show up, how they think, their confidence, their networking, their interviews, their clarity. They are pushed to reflect on that and get better every single week. This high value thinking can be trained. And inside our coaching, inside our program, the reason all of this exists is because you are not just that professional coming in. You're not done. You're becoming. You're always becoming. So that is high value thinking. Just in the last week, we had 2 offers, actually 3 offers. One person got 2 offers on the same day, and another person got an offer, all very, very close to 200K. And we're going to push all of them to get to 200K. And those 2 clients got those offers, one in 2 months, another one in 4 months. The reason they make it happen so quickly, and they only actually explored a couple of roles each. This time frame also includes the holidays. The reason they make it happen is because they are in this container, and they are continuing to improve their job searching skills every single day. They continue to practice, they continue to reflect. And I call them out on this low value thinking, and I coach them on it. But you also need to coach yourself on it. No one else is inside of your head. You spend the most time there. All right. That is it for all the shoulds and shouldn'ts of job search. I am looking forward to hearing back from you and hearing how this episode resonated with you. Shoot me a message. Shoot me a message on Instagram and let's talk. All right, friends, that is it for today. I will see you in the next episode.